Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I make my own bench cables for testing or power delivery. All I'm going to show you is exclusively for low voltage applications, which means voltages of approximately 100 volt DC or 50 volt AC or below. These voltages are in the safe zone, which means they are relatively safe to touch. And here you can see the three different types of banana plugs I'm using. I got these 60 volt DC, 30 volt AC rated banana plugs that are stackable and can handle up to 19 amps of current. I do have these cheap and generic banana plugs that can handle up to 5 amp continuous. And I have these over here. They are a perfect fit for my lab bench power supply, as this connector over here, and they fit in perfectly, which means I'm going to make a few connectors exclusively for my lab bench power supply. The actual rating on these I don't remember, but I think it was in the range of 10 amps continuous. And today I'm going to use one of these and two of these crocodile clips, obviously in red and black, and the other two will be connected to the generic banana plugs. The stackable ones, they are only for display, and I'm going to show you a bit about them in a moment, but they get connected to these over here. And I do have another set of these because I also want to show you a really cheap way to get started in electronics with test leads, and that is to buy one of these sets from Banggood. You get 10 different test leads with crocodile clips on each end. Just buy a few of these connectors, cut off the one end and get them together. This is really cheap, especially when you get started. And if you're more advanced or need higher current handling capability, you obviously should use a proper cable, and I'm going to use these over here. They are 16 Awg silicon wire rated for 200 degrees Celsius and, well, 16 Awg. So let's take a closer look at these three different connectors, and I have to zoom in for that. Okay, that should be fine. So these two connectors, they have screws, but these screws are a bit different, and these have to be soldered. First off are these generic banana plugs over here. If you remove the screw completely, you can then also remove the plastic housing. And now let's take a look. That's how it looks from the back side. You're supposed to get the cable in here, tighten down the screw to hold it in place. If you just insert the cable without anything, one of these multi-stranded cable, the problem is if you tighten down the screw, the strands will then some strands will be squished by the screw, which is totally fine, but the other ones will just split and go to the sides and not be underneath the screw, but on the sides, on this side and the other side, because this hole is way too big or the screw is way too small. If the screw was bigger and would grab onto all the strands, that would be no problem, but in this case you can't just insert the cable. What most people do then is they use solder, which is, well, not a particularly bad idea, but there is this effect that is called cold flow, which means that a soft material can deform or lose its strength over time due to mechanical force. So that's also the reason why nowadays we don't use solder joints in household applications, well, in electrical installations, that is. The other way you can then do that, and in my opinion the proper way, would be to use some of these cable and terminations. You can just insert them in here tighten down the screw and you're good to go. This is a really, really strong mechanical connection. If I can just tighten down the screw a bit, insert the cable, and that's it. So this is, in my opinion, the proper way to use these plugs, because the screw does not completely fill out the space and the strands could just go to one side or another. Next off are these connectors over here. Here you are supposed to insert the cable in one of these holes, or well, in both holes, and then tighten down the screw from in here. But in contrast to the previous ones, these screws are so thick that you can't even see through the hole anymore. There's almost no space, and this is totally fine to just insert the cable and tighten down the screw. Here's no space for the cable to go anywhere. The last connector I can show you is this one over here. I only got these 3 at the moment, and this is completely different. It does not use a screw, but you're supposed to directly solder to the metal insert. If I can just get that out. So the cable goes in here from this side and out here from the other side. Here is a bit of material removed. So if you flow in solder from this side, it then will shape a like a mushroom shape. So in the event of a bad connection between solder and the metal insert, the solder will still hold the cable in place. Now let's take a look at the crocodile clips. So you see there are these metal posts, or these rather triangular shaped things over here, and they are designed to be bent inwards and then crimp onto the cable. And there are different ways to do that. So some people only solder to these, which is really bad. The solder at some point will fail. The better way is to solder them in place and crimp them so it holds onto the insulation of the cable. But the best way, or rather, there's another way. So the other way is how they did it with these cables from Banggood, which is just removing insulation, get these strands underneath, and then crimp it in place. This is not a bad idea, but poorly executed, so if you decide to buy these, you should always take a look at all the joints and maybe redo them. This is not a big deal, and it's still worth buying them. So what I found to be the most sufficient way is to remove a rather large area of insulation, bend them just like this downwards, so like this, and then either make a loop over here and solder it, or make this loop down here, back up, and then solder it, and obviously crimp. So I have a physical connection between the copper and the crocodile clip, and a soldered connection, which I think is the best way to connect crocodile clips. Now let's start with the cheap beginner's version. What we need are 2 of these banana plugs over here, and I'm going to select a red and black cable from a set from Banggood. Because these cables are really thin, they can't really handle a high current, so it's not really worth bothering to redo all these connections. I'm just going to inspect all, cut off the worst connection, and only redo it if it's really no good. So, which means the copper is not touching the metal. Doing this the other way with these loops and soldering it into place is especially important for high current applications. But these low current, you can't really, or you shouldn't really use them for more than 1 amp or basic measurements. Don't bother with that. After I decided which end to cut off, I'm now going to strip off wire, and I'm going to use these cable end terminations so I can get a proper connection with the banana plugs. This should be much better. So let's take a look. That's good. So I'm doubling up the copper, which should allow me to use the smallest cable termination I got. This is quite difficult. Now let's insert copper wire, and that's much better. If a tiny amount is sticking out, that's absolutely no problem. You can remove that. It's just that when I crimp it, that it holds onto there. Let's get the crimping tool, and I think this one is way too small. I mean too big. This will not be a reliable connection. Yep, that's too small. That does not fit. So I can just use needle nose pliers and hope for the best, because this is too long. I think I'm going to bend this over, or not. No, it just breaks. Okay, that doesn't work, but no problem, I just cut it off. And if we take a look at my example connection over here, all of these terminations are too long either way, so that's totally fine if it's a bit shorter. I just hope that it holds in place. I just did not think about the size I can crimp. So I might buy another one and redo this, but for now, to show you guys, it's totally fine. Now let's get the banana plug. We don't have to remove the plastic right now. We can just insert the cable in here, hold it in place, and tighten down the screw. Okay, I did not account for the fact that if the screw is completely tightened down, there's a small gap on the bottom, which is just big enough so this will not hold in place. So my next plan is to use a bigger connector over here, insert this cable in it, and use a bit of copper wire to get a proper connection to these crimp connections over here, and then insert it into the banana plug. Just to neaten up everything a tiny amount. And that's hopefully big enough so it can hold onto it. Now let's grab one of these. Get the screw a tiny amount out. We don't have to remove the plastic housing. Insert the cable and tighten down the screw. And now I can feel resistance, which means it should, yep, it holds the cable perfectly in place. And that I'm going to repeat for the other one. After crimping the second cable, I now can go ahead and again get the screw out a tiny amount, insert the crimp connection, and tighten down the screw. So this is the most reliable way to connect to these cheap banana plugs over here. And if you don't have these cable end terminations you can just go the way of using solder, applying enough solder, and then screwing onto the cable that is covered with solder. But this is not the most reliable connection, and I wanted to show you the better way to go when it comes to these connectors over here. After you've finished connecting the banana plugs to the cables, you're now good to go to use them. And in the last video I made this over here, which now looks a bit different. Just quick explanations. I had now crimp connections for the cables. They are for handling current up to 10 amps. So I made my own connections from leftover aluminum. This should be just fine for now, and I thought this might look nice to use a sheet of aluminum instead of a cable. But that's just a side note why it looks different. And if you haven't seen the video where I made this, I'm going to link it down below. So now that this is done over here, I can connect the banana plugs to my meter, which is quite difficult. I don't know what's going on. These are no 2mm. What? Wait a second. What's going on? That's weird. These are 4mm connectors. Now it goes in. So I just had to move it for some time. The I don't know, how is this called? The outer part of a banana plug. It just had to be moved with some pliers, and then I can just insert it. That's really rarely the case, but sometimes it's necessary. So after it's inserted, I can just take measurements, like voltage from a battery, which is 9.6 volt. And doesn't say anything. Okay, so it has always to be connected the right way around. I wasn't sure about that. Or I can just measure the voltage from my 11-inch power supply, and these clips are too small. So I have to use a pair of different connectors, like these, right here. So I need to connect plus with plus, and minus to minus. Now we can turn on the power supply. .12 volt, 13, 14. So you see, the cables do work. We have a good connection. Showing you how good the connection is with... Oh, that was a short. Okay, so I can't really show you how reliable the connection is for, well, current, because they are not meant to conduct a high current. They are for maybe 1 amp, and primarily to measure voltage, resistance, or whatever you like to, but always low voltage applications. No matter how advanced you are in electronics, you can't have enough test cables, and they are just fine for every small circuit you want to probe or deliver power to. Thanks for watching the first part of this video. I decided to split the video into 2 parts because it would otherwise be a 32-minute video, and I think 20 minutes is already long enough. The second part will be up in a few days later, and then I'm going to show you how I make the other 2 pairs of cables. But for now, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!